Another one, a slideshow on assessment. This is just part one of an overview. First of all, there is a difference between assessment and evaluation, although the terms are often used synonymously. Assessment tends to be associated more with a diagnosis. The purpose here is to find out how students are doing. Information is gathered to meet the needs of students. Evaluation is a judgment, sorting wheat from chaff, sheep from goats, assigning a letter category at the end. Now, classroom assessment should be used for looking for clues to find out how learning is going, to get information. Every bit of information that you take in, conversations, observations, homework, etc., is used to inform your instruction. That is the ideal use of assessment. Real assessment should look for strengths as well as areas to remediate. Find out what the student does well and encourage him or her to use their strengths, not just finding weaknesses and hitting them over the head with what they can't do. That's how we tend to use assessment, and that's not a very good thing to do. Formal assessment is that objective, rigorous method, allegedly, for getting information about students. When we think about formal assessment, we think about tests and quizzes and reports and assignments. It's called indirect assessment because it doesn't assess directly. We are not looking directly at students' processes or products. We are using some sort of measure that indirectly measures their knowledge or ability to use a skill. Reading a paragraph and filling out 4 bubbles, that's an indirect way to measure. But we think because we have numbers that, by golly, it makes more sense. Informal assessment, called authentic assessment, is direct assessment. These are the observations you make of students as they work. It includes the impressions, conversations, interviews, journals, conferences, learning logs, students' products and performances, looking for change over time. Now, this idea that one is more rigorous, usually this is seen as more rigorous than that. That's absolutely silly. Just because numbers are attached to something, it's said to be more rigorous and more real. Informal assessment, and we'll talk about some of these later on, also includes portfolio assessment. Okay, now a norm reference test, and let's get on the same page, that is a standardized test. It's called norm because you are comparing students to this mythical norm. Here's the old bell-shaped curve, and this is average. You either fall above average or below average. All right, so you're being compared to all, say, the 4th graders who took the same test. And here's the thing. In a school, half the students should be above average and half below average. Oh my goodness, half the students were below average on this test. Well, that's what average is. It's right in the middle. All right? So, in a 4th grade test, this is the average score of all 4th graders. And oftentimes in norm reference tests, you are given a number by how far you fall away from this mythical average. A criterion reference test, on the other hand, is like swimming lessons. Do you meet the criterion? Yes or no. This is like the end of the unit tests in reading or in math, or it's like most college courses. Yes, we have an exam with numbers on, but we have certain criteria. You either meet the criteria or you don't. Now, here's a question for you. Why do we assess? What is the purpose of assessing? How should I assess in this course? Big picture. We are teachers, not measurers. Think about what your purpose is. Your purpose should be meaningful learning for your students. Too often we have become so hyper-obsessed with measuring, test taking, that we forget that we are teachers. Evaluation influences both the type of learning and the type of studying. So be aware of that. Students study differently if they know there's going to be a 100-point multiple choice than for an essay exam or for a product or a portfolio. So the type of evaluation or assessment you use in your class does affect studying and learning. In the perfect world, evaluation should reflect instruction. Good evaluation directly reflects instruction. A good teacher will have students who do well because their evaluation is related directly to what goes on in the classroom. Now here's one major feedback of using the Charlotte Danielson, my eyes are twitching, for evaluating student teaching and practicum field experiences in a program. That would be great if your program were designed, if everything you taught in your courses, your goals and objectives, were designed on Charlotte Danielson. That is, if you let Charlotte Danielson define your goals, your purposes, your content, well, then it would be just fine. But that's obviously silly. What does she know about our students, our program, our special ed, or our elementary ed, whatever? Charlotte Danielson criteria is outside our goals, our objectives for our program. That's the case with most teacher education programs. So if a program is using Charlotte Danielson or anything else for assessment and field experiences, and that is not directly reflected or directly related to course and program purposes and objectives, that is a misuse of Charlotte Danielson. That's a misuse of evaluation and assessment. Evaluation and assessment should directly reflect the program, the goals, the objectives. All right, I've got enough on that. In the same way, good assessment guides teaching. I see how my students are doing and I go, uh-oh, need a little more of this. Uh-oh, need a little more of that. So assessment provides feedback for me. I see what I'm doing well and not well. In an ideal world as well, assessment provides feedbacks to the students on their learning and effort. The more explicit feedback we can give to students, the better. Now here's some wacky, nutty, humanistic ideas. Choice. We should give students some choice in regards to their own evaluation, giving them options to make choices from. Not choice all the time, but some choices. Do you want me to take grades today, or did we kind of, okay, we'll take grades tomorrow. A lot of us didn't get it. You don't have to take grades every day. Boys and girls, you choose your best paper from your portfolio, and we will evaluate that. Now, assessment should be like soil samples. When you want to get a sense of what the soil is, you don't dig up the whole lawn. You take a little bit here, a little bit there. You do not have to grade every bit of homework. You do not have to grade every activity and every assignment. That is overwhelming and confining. And student self-assessment allows students to grade their own work to the greatest extent possible. Give them full points. Allow students to drop their lowest grade. And contract grading. And we'll talk about contract grading in the next video.